The Osei Junior High School in the Greater Accra region of Ghana is in distress. There are people study daily to study, and over 200 of them are cramped in one classroom.
We don't feel comfortable. People will be just roaming about. Whenever we go out for break, they don't come back. Why? Because there is poor ventilation in the classroom. In the class, people shout a lot, and whenever we go to break and come, we feel so heat that the teachers who come after break cannot teach, so they'll rather go and stand, and that affects our learning activities.
In an attempt at abolishing the shift system, a building was rented for the school to take care of the afternoon shift. But for 2 years, the Accra Metro Assembly has failed to pay the rent, and so the pupils have been ejected, forcing them to join the morning class, cramming into a small classroom.
At first, this where we were divided into two. The basic school, the department was divided into two. We have the A department and we have the B department. And then now, when we opened school on the 10th of September, when we came to school, the man in the B department said they can no more school here. So the man locked the door and they came out, and then the teachers asked them to join us in the A department. And then when it happened like that, there is no space in the class. And then the mono decks we sit on, we are supposed to sit in twos, one, but now we sit in twos. And then the double decks, we now sit on it in three. And sometimes we join the decks and then we sit like 8, 9.
My name is Bright Nana Amfo, and this is today's big story. And this is a sad story of over 200 pupils of the Osei Junior High School in the Greater Accra region who have to study under very critical conditions in complete and welcome environment. The AMA's attempt at abolishing the shift system was to prevent them from becoming truants and also improve the basic school. But for pupils of the Osei Junior School, the good intentions of the Accra Metro Assembly for basic schools has affected them negatively and impacting badly on their education. Now, let me show you how these pupils and their teachers struggle daily to teach and learn.
The beginning of this term, initially we were occupying this place, and AMA do pay for the rent, but we learned that for some time
we also have the one we use for le nom masculine, and then the one we use for le nom.
Now, one of the teachers spoke to us, but asked that we protect her because they have received threat from some education authorities not to speak to the media, else they risk being sacked. Let's listen to her.
It started from the beginning of this term. Initially, we were occupying this place, and AMA do pay for the rent. But we learned that for some time now, AMA has not been paying them. That's why they blocked the place. The classes are crowded in the sense that instead of one class, 2 classes are joined together. We, the teachers, we don't even have a place to stand to teach, let alone go through the desks to supervise the work. So especially those sitting at the back, they do misbehave as the teacher is teaching. So the concentration too is not there. Even as you are marking, you could see that most of the students don't pay attention to what you are teaching. Because yesterday, for instance, when I was marking something that I've treated with them, you could see that all that they've written doesn't concern what I even taught them. Yeah, so it's affecting us a lot. So I may say this is the 3rd week. We've wasted it.
I'll very soon be speaking to a retired educationist to find out exactly what this means for our education. But we also spoke to the landlord of the rented premises who did not want to appear on camera. But he said the AMA has failed to pay what he calls maintenance allowance. And so that is why he had to get the kids out. Let's listen to him too.
Initially, the students were using this place already for some time. They come and do their exam and then they go back. Somewhere 2010, the metro office came to me and said, okay, now officially they want to use the facility. Yeah. And then they have been here since 2010 permanently. According to them, initially it was 6 months, then it became a year. Then every year they renew it. But this time they haven't given me any letter. I will not say I needed the facility, but you know, there is law in the land. Yeah, you cannot ask somebody to be somewhere without care. Okay, and then also sometimes when you go to them for maintenance money, they toss you up and down. You don't know who is responsible for that. And since they give you a letter before you accept the children here, they should get you the letter all the time. Now there is no letter. So if something happened to somebody here, I don't know how I will answer. Further, you see this dual desk are new. That is also our support to them. Every year we give them seat, new seat. And so you don't know what will happen. But even I am not sacking them because of money. Somebody should be responsible and give me the letter to authorize me to keep them here. And nobody is giving me a letter.
Right, I have 2 gentlemen on the line. IKGC is a retired educationist and Leslie Tete is with the Ghana Education Campaign Coalition. I'll very soon be speaking to them, but I want us to listen to what an assembly member of the Gbegbu electoral area told us when we tried to find out from them what the AMA has done about the situation at the Gbegbu Junior High School.
Actually, I knew they are over in the classroom, so OPCO as a certain place where the place has been rented for them. So some of the school children has been occupied to that place. But actually it is AMA who has been paying the rent to them. So it was recently when I heard that AMA didn't pay them the amount, and so they are trying to vacate them from the premises to where they formerly school. So as at Mayor is not in the country now, Mayor has traveled to America abroad. So I made up my mind, if Mayor can, I'll get in contact with Mayor, so if you can do anything about it. This it has been emergency news to me, so I will make sure, if possible, we can get some of the money rather to give to the OPCO director. So within this short period, we have to occupy them to the place. So later on, we find a place for the rest.
Right, so that is what he told us, that the Accra mayor is out of the country, and so when he's back, he, the assembly member, will alert him on what is happening at the Gbegbu Junior High School. But let me speak to Leslie Tete. He's the national coordinator, Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition, and Ibrahim Kwekujesi is a retired educator. We'll talk about basic education if it is getting the right attention. Welcome to today's big story, gentlemen. Right. First of all, let me speak to the retired educationist, Ms. Ike JC. Now, basic education compared to perhaps what you saw from the era of colonial rule and after independence and what you're seeing by way of infrastructure. Would you be able to share with us the differences that you're seeing now?
Well, I went to a village school. But we didn't have overcrowded classrooms. We sat two at a dual desk. Everybody had a reading book, a copy of the reading book before him.
Mr. Jesse, that was, which year was it?
I'm talking of between 1942 and 1950.
And you were two at a desk?
At a desk, and because it was a dual desk, not a mono.
Right.
And every person had a copy of the book, whether it was a textbook, reading book, supplementary reader, whatever it was, before. You see, and you had this one teacher, of course, in those days, one teacher teaching all the subjects. Today, the situation has changed. We have overcrowded classrooms. We have, while some of the teachers are so very dedicated, we have teachers with their own problems not giving the best to the children. We have a situation where instead of two children to a mono desk, we have two children to a dual desk. We have 3 children to a dual desk, and sometimes 2 to a mono desk. Sometimes classes have to be combined, class 1 and class 2 combined in the same room. I mean, the situation isn't the best. The provision is also not the best.
What might have accounted for this deterioration in the provision of infrastructure for basic schools?
So many things go into the teaching and learning process, so many factors. Parents in the home have their role to play. Teachers have their role to play. The educational authorities also have their role to play. It is when each one of them is playing his or her role that we have successful teaching and learning. Where you have crowded classrooms, you see, it's not just a question of the teacher talking. The teacher must set classwork. The teacher must set homework. How does he mark all the exercises? Especially if he's a subject teacher teaching more than one class, you will discover that he has many students or many school children on his hands, and he cannot do an effective job of sharing his knowledge with the pupils.
Right.
Thanks to you, thanks to the media, we've been told of classrooms without roofs, teachers and students studying under trees, and classes coming to an end because the rain has threatened to come, because there is strong wind, because there is a sunshine. These are not conducive to effective learning and teaching.
Right. Mr. Judge, hold on for us. Now, let me go to Leslie Tete, the National Coordinator, Ghana Education Campaign Coalition. Now, you might have taught, if I'm not wrong, a greater portion of this country. Congestion in classrooms is an issue of worry to education authorities. Now, how severe is this particular situation?
Excuse me, you said your question again.
I'm asking that you might have taught parts of the country and you have seen congestion in classrooms in basic schools. How severe is this situation?
Well, I think that it's quite severe, especially in most of our schools across the country at the basic level. Basically, with the introduction of access-driven policies like the capitation grants and the school feeding program, we have had enrollment levels swelling at the basic level. And we did these policies without taking into cognizance the other requirements like infrastructure and other teaching and learning materials. And therefore, we have a lot of children in most of our schools. As a country, we have a target of having a pupil-teacher ratio of 1:35 for basic, or at most 1:40. But there are certain classes where you have one teacher to about 70, 80. In some places, we visited some places in northern Ghana about 2 years ago, and there were more than 80 children in the classroom.
I can tell you, Leslie, I can tell you that right in the capital of the country, Begbese, precisely, around Dansuman, 200 pupils are crammed in one classroom.
Yes, it is worse in the urban areas, and that's why the issue of the shift system becomes an issue in the urban areas.
You think that the system is simply not working, so we should go back until we have adequate infrastructure to cater for it?
No, I think we should look at the way, for instance, we cite schools. There are school blocks in this country that don't get children attending, and yet those structures have been built. And so I think it has to do with the way we have planned in the distribution of our resources. So we have to look at that as well.
Now, Mr. Jesse, if you're still on the line, now the problem at Begbese Junior High School is as a result of the attempt at abolishing the shift system of education at the basic level. What do you think about this system, abolishing it and creating congestion in classroom? Should we go back to the morning-afternoon shift?
It's like making the disease worse with the cure. Once again, when I was attending the village school, we had both morning and the afternoon sessions because we didn't have too many people. You're talking of a situation in Accra.
Right.
If the shift system, if abolition of the system was meant to improve conditions, it seems as if that has failed. Because what is the use of crowding 60, 70 pupils in one classroom and one teacher not even have enough space to move around? It doesn't help learning and teaching. So if that is the cure, then I say the cure has failed. Rather, the disease has become worse. And an effort must be made to ensure that as much as possible, class sizes are sufficiently reduced to the point where the teacher can conveniently handle the pupils. Otherwise, you may say on paper, we have abolished the shift system. To what end? With 70 students in the pupils in a class, and the teacher unable to set classwork or homework and mark.
Now
we are in trouble, please. We are in trouble, and all of us, parents, government, society group, must realize that we are in trouble. And if the foundation is weak, I tell you, we are going to have a very weak superstructure. And it is serious.
Now, you think that we are in trouble. The concern is that our governments have not been able to prioritize and put our education at the top of our development agenda. That is why we are in trouble. Do you share this view?
Whatever it is, I said it boils down to this. What is the part being played by government, the educational authorities? As the gentleman mentioned, capitation policy has ensured that more and more, and then school feeding, more and more pupils are going to school. We have a situation where funding is not even going to the schools. From the basic to the senior high school level, I can tell you, all of them are complaining the money which should have gone to the schools isn't going to the schools. And how do you expect any meaningful work to be done?
Leslie,
when the funding is not going to the schools.
Now, Leslie, the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition, now, in your daily activities, in your daily operations, how do we cure this problem, improve basic education? Because Mr. Jesse thinks that if we neglect basic education, we are doomed forever.
I think that the factors are many, and we have engagement. In fact, sometimes if you think about the problem, sometimes you become despondent, but I think we can make a way out of it. First of all, we need, like the doctor mentioned, funding that is going to the school actually is very bigger. And so we need to ensure that we increase funding to basic schools. The capitation grant is just 4 cedis 50 pesos, and that is effectively 1 cedi 50 pesos a term for each child. That can do nothing, especially when enrollment levels are very low. So for schools that have low enrollment level, this money doesn't benefit them. In some instances, headmasters don't go for the money at all. But if you look at our education budget, as I speak now, about 90% plus of the total budget for education, the total budget for education goes into issues of salaries and personal emolument. What goes to the direct support of the actual learning of the child is very small. And so we need to look at the structure of our budgets again and make sure that a lot of funds is going to direct learning. Secondly, there's also leakage in the way we use money, and that should be blocked. And then we should follow our plans through. And like the gentleman mentioned, the issues of supervision, proper supervision in the classroom, and provision of teacher and learning materials should be adhered to. I think all these things are known, and we are aware of them. What we need is to cultivate the willpower to drive these processes.
Right, Leslie Tete, thanks so much for speaking to us, National Coordinator, Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition there. Let me wrap up with the retired education, Mr. IKJC. Now, he thinks that if we do these things, we may be getting somewhere. Are we too late, or we can still move on with what we have?
No, we cannot be too late. We can always take the necessary measures, corrective measures, to ensure that something is done. But the more we delay, the more we compound the problem, and it will go all the way to the university level, where we are sometimes told graduates cannot even write simple reports because they lack basic knowledge of grammar and vocabulary and English. So it's not too late. We can start something.
Thank you so much. Ibrahim Kwekujesi is a retired educationist there, talking to me about education at the basic level and how to improve it. But junior high school, over 200 pupils crammed in one classroom. And a lot more people have been talking to us about improving education at the basic level. You have been speaking to our cameras. Let's listen.
I think that the educational system is not right. The structures the ministries have structured for the students. Looking at the building, the teachers, the infrastructures, the chairs. You could go to certain schools and you realize that there are inadequate chairs in the class. There's no ceiling fan for the student to sit in the comfort to learn. And sometimes people blame the government also, because the government is not pushing enough money into the education system. So you're like, people go to school and they're like, oh, we are also going to school, and that's it. People don't really get the meaning of education. When we look at our international education system, I know a friend who was in Ghana and went to USA, for instance, and within the shortest possible time, the person is in college, whilst the person who is in Ghana here is still struggling to complete SHS, which is very bad. So I think the government should look at these years and those structures to limit it down for students to make it. So, yeah.
And we'll be telling you more about what you're telling us about improving education at the basic level. That is how we wrap up the first segment of today's big story. Don't forget that the second segment, that is about you, is yet to come. And Marian will be joining me very soon for the show. Stay right there. I'm coming back in a moment.